गणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहविनुतं महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहविनुतं मारकोटि प्रकाशं शान्तं महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियम् महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियं मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रिय महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रिय मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रिय महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दितमहागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. For many of the teachers who've been here last year, we had done this. What I would like to say before I start is all this has been downloaded from the net. I have not created anything. And the reason I'm telling you is because you have such a big resource. Please read up, please look up the net. Okay? So this is Bloom's taxonomy. Now the other day, one teacher came to me and he's asking, why are we doing what someone has asked us to do in 1959? Tell me, teachers, why? Why are we doing Bloom's taxonomy? Why do we need it today? Is it relevant? Is Bloom's taxonomy relevant today? It is relevant? Okay, this is 1959. Even before 1959, 1939, someone else from India propagated this. Anyone who can tell me? He is not an educationist. He is a freedom fighter. He is the most revered person in India. Gandhi, what did he talk about? What was it called? Heads will not talk. If they know at least, you know, we discussed this the other day, both of you know. But tell me, what did Gandhi talk about education? Exactly, head, hand and heart. What was that called? What was that called? Head, hand and heart. What was that called? It was called Nai Talim. Nai Talim. If I say, all of you will remember. What is Nai Talim about? 1939, he discussed this. Is it relevant today again? 59, not relevant, fine. 1939, is it relevant? It relevant? Then why is it that we did not use it at all? Why was Nai Talim not brought in spite of worshipping Gandhiji as a Mahatma? Why has India not used it? Anyone? Why haven't we used Nai Talim? Why? Emotional and skill was not brought in. Why? Why was emotional and skill, or the hand and the heart, why was it not brought in? 1939, think of the time and tell me why it was not brought in. We were suppressed by the British. No, British was propagating education in India, wasn't it? That was the time when English was prevalent. English medium schools had started, vernacular had taken a back turn. Tell ma'am. Gurukul, yes, exactly, okay. Okay, so Gurukul system had this, head, hand and heart, isn't it? Rote memory did not have this. And the British was propagating rote memory, remember? Why was the British propagating rote memory? They wanted only followers, clerical staff. And not only the British, all over the world that was happening. Why? Industrialization. Remember, because of industrialization, they needed only factory line workers, clerical staff who did not have to think, who did not have to feel. They just had to do. And that is why instructions, if you have to follow an instruction, you should not think, this is right, wrong, how can I do it better, how can I do it worse? You should not think, you should only blindly, like robots, follow. And that is why Nai Talim was not brought in. But with Bloom's taxonomy coming in, industrialization was going to end anyway. Today we don't need industrialization at all. Isn't it? Today we need people who have to think, feel, and produce and do with the hands. And so Bloom's taxonomy and Nai Talim is all the more relevant today than it was in 1960s or 70s. 60s and 70s was production time. Isn't it? Only industrialization was happening. But today we are looking at 21st century skills which are networking, interaction, isn't it? Social acceptance, being able to speak socially, being able to propagate yourself. All these will come only with your Nai Talim or with Bloom's taxonomy. Now, how many of us remember the Bloom's taxonomy? Again, rote learning, of course. But how many of us remember what are the things? Yes, ma'am? Knowledge, understanding, application, analysis, evaluation, synthesis, and creativity, whatever. Now, we had 7, today it has been brought down to 6, isn't it? And there's a difference between the old Blooms and the new Blooms. Verbs. Old Blooms was nouns. Knowledge, comprehension, blah, blah, blah. Present Blooms is all about verbs. To do. Isn't it? To know, to understand, okay, and then to apply, to analyze, and then to evaluate, then create. Isn't it? I just have a video. My God, this teddy is not nice.
Learn this. Bloom's Taxonomy, Learning in Action. In this video you will learn about the basic principle of Bloom's Taxonomy.
This talking video was created at slidetalk.net, the shortest path to publish presentations online as talking videos.
Bloom's Taxonomy is concerned with classification of learning objectives within education. It can be used to stimulate a more comprehensive approach to education, considering the learner from all aspects, and showing the relationships between learning processes in different domains, while at the same time breaking down the learning process in meaningful and useful steps. Benjamin Bloom is the name of an educational psychologist who back in the 50s chaired a committee of educators devoted to study the learning process and the educational system. He died in 1999 at the age of 86. Bloom and his colleagues were facing the problem of creating standardized tests and allow for exchange of tests and ideas between schools. To agree on how to evaluate the learner's performance on a specific subject, you need to have agreed first on the learning objectives for that subject. The learning objectives needed to be defined against an agreed model for the learning process. This was the enterprise undertaken by Bloom and his colleagues. As a result, in 1956 Bloom and his collaborators published a text called Taxonomy of Educational Objectives, the classification of educational goals that became soon a milestone in the educational field. We will now look at the main findings and how to apply them.
The word taxonomy comes from the Greek words taxis, that can be translated as arrangement, and nomos, that can be translated as science. Taxonomy means thus the science of arrangements. It is nothing but a fancy word for classification.
The taxonomy refers to a classification of the learning objectives, or skills, that the learner should acquire. Skills are divided into 3 domains.
The first domain is the cognitive domain. Here we find the skills typically associated with knowing and the head. Then we have the affective domain, covering skills associated with feeling or the heart. The third domain is the psychomotor domain, covering skills associated with doing or the hands. It is important to keep in mind that in reality these 3 domains are not separated. The level of skills in one domain may depend on the level of skills in the other domains. However, it is useful to consider and study them separately.
Within each domain, skills are the results of processes, graphically represented as ranging from lower-order processes to higher-order processes. Lower-order processes cover more basic function with a lower level of complexity. Higher-order processes correspond to more evolved and more complex functions.
We start by exploring the cognitive domain. Skills in the cognitive domain revolve around knowledge, comprehension, and critical thinking on a particular topic. Traditional education tends to emphasize the skills in the cognitive domain. Knowledge. The skill of exhibiting memory of previously learned materials by recalling facts, terms, basic concepts and answers. Knowledge at this level consists mainly of memory and the ability to retrieve the proper information when needed. Comprehension. Demonstrate understanding of facts and ideas by organizing, comparing, interpreting, describing, and stating the main ideas. At this level, knowledge can be compared and extracted. Application. Solve problems in new situations by applying acquired knowledge, facts, techniques, and rules in a different way. At this level, knowledge can be applied to new situations. Analysis. Examine and break down knowledge into parts by identifying motives or causes. Make inferences and find evidence to support generalizations. At this level, knowledge can be used to draw new conclusions. Synthesis. Compile information together in a different way by proposing alternative solutions. At this level, knowledge can be used for planning actions or to derive new knowledge. Evaluation. It is the highest order skill in the cognitive domain. The evaluation skill allows presenting and defending opinions by making judgments about information, validity of ideas, or quality of work. At this level, knowledge can be reflected upon, allowing for critical thinking. For educators, this model provides a sort of checklist to verify that learners are not just passively acquiring knowledge, but that they also learn how to apply knowledge, how to integrate it in their thinking, and how to reflect upon it by using critical thinking.
The affective domain. Skills in the affective domain describe the way people react emotionally to learning stimulus and to the persons involved in the learning situation. It also covers the ability to feel the pain and joy of other living things. The objectives in this domain typically target the awareness and maturity in attitudes, emotion, and feelings. Receiving. This is the lowest and most basic skill, where the learner can pay attention to a learning stimulus, even if in a passive way. Without this level, no learning can occur. Responding. The learner participates actively by reacting in some way to the learning stimulus. Valuing. The learner attaches a value to the learning stimulus and acquires knowledge. This ranges from simple acceptance or refusal to the more complex state of commitment. At this level, the learner shows the skill to be able to take a stand in a particular issue. Organizing. The learner organizes values into priorities by contrasting different values, resolving conflicts between them, and creating a unique value system. The emphasis is on comparing, relating, and synthesizing values. At this level, the learner can form a larger opinion on a topic by integrating, comparing, and prioritizing different stands on individual matters. Characterizing. The learner holds a particular value or belief that now exerts influence on the general behavior so that it becomes a characteristic of that person. Instructional objectives are concerned with the learner's general patterns of adjustment on the personal, social, and emotional planes. On the effective plan, the learner's skills should evolve from merely recognize a learning stimulus, to start acting on it, form an independent opinion, and finally evolve into a unique and personal character, holding a complex set of values and opinions.
The psychomotor domain. Skills in the psychomotor domain describe the ability to physically manipulate a tool or instrument like a pencil or a hammer. There are different versions of the classification in this domain, but the general principle are the same. Perception. The ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activity. For example, the ability to estimate the position where a ball will land after it is thrown, and then moving to the correct location to catch the ball. Set. Readiness to act. Mental, physical, and emotional dispositions that make one respond in a certain way to a situation. Examples. The learner knows and acts upon a sequence of steps in a manufacturing process. Guided response. An early stage in learning a complex skill that includes imitation and trial and error. Adequacy of performance is achieved by practicing. Examples. The learner follows instructions to build a model, or the learner responds to hand signals of instructor while learning to operate a machine. Mechanism. This is the intermediate stage in learning a complex skill. Learned responses have become habitual, and the movements can be performed with some confidence and proficiency. Examples. The learner has acquired the skill to use a software or drive a car. Complex overt response. The skillful performance of motor acts that involve complex movement patterns. Proficiency is indicated by a quick, accurate, and highly coordinated performance, requiring a minimum of energy. Example. A tennis player hits the ball and can tell by the feel of the act what the result will produce. Adaptation. Skills are well developed and the individual can modify movement patterns to fit special requirements. Example. The learner responds effectively to unexpected experiences. Origination. The skill of creating completely new movement patterns to fit a particular situation or specific problem. At this level, a creative layer is built upon highly developed skills. The psychomotor skills develop from basic coordination and interpretation of sensory cues to learning more complex sequence of operations that are refined until eventually reach a level where they can be modified and even created when the need arises.
We have now reached the end of this introduction to Bloom's taxonomy and its 3 domains.
How was it? How many of us are using all these when we do Bloom's taxonomy? We are all still in the knowing of Bloom's taxonomy? Or how many of us are implementing it? We are using our head, but heart and hand? As teachers, are we teaching our children that? Yes? How? How? How are you teaching your children to use the heart? This is just the video. Can you remember any story, any fairy tale with this? She liked to think that she was thinking. How many of you have read Alice in Wonderland? Doesn't she like to think that she's thinking? Isn't it? How many of us like to think that we are thinking, but we are actually not thinking? Isn't it? We are worrying, we are thinking, but we are not thinking of how to get a solution to that. We are thinking about the problem, thinking, but then that is not thinking at all. That is worrying, that is anxiety. Okay, so thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason why So few engage in it. If everyone was a thinker, what would be the state of the world? We would all become creators. Brahmanandam says, no? Remember in the movie? Isn't it? So, these are the high order thinking skills. Now, are all Bloom's taxonomy in the high order thinking skills, or how does it progress? We've already seen that. How does it progress? Low to high. Which are the low order thinking skills, or the lots as we call it? Okay, list the lots. Lots. Knowledge. That's all. Only knowledge is low order. You're going into hand, head and heart. You're going into the domains. I'm just going into the straight Blooms. I like to think of Blooms as RUAAEC. R would be remembering, isn't it? U is understanding. Now remembering, you all are saying, is the lowest order. After that, is there any low order? Understanding is also a low order. Isn't it? That is, you do something, from that you again remember and put it. Isn't it? Any other low order thinking skills? Application is also low order. Application is high order. Science teachers, you have application questions in your paper. High order? High order? See, you have memorized something and you have understood that. Then you apply it. So it is high order. It's the middle order. Okay, it's neither high nor very low either. Okay. Then after applying, you have analyzing. Was this useful? How was the application? Did I succeed? Analyzing is where now? High? Analyzing is also in the middle. You have 6. 2 bottom, 2 middle. High order are the last 2, which is evaluating and creating. In the present thing, we don't have all that. Synthesizing and evaluation have become one, or synthesizing has been changed into creating. Okay, so don't think that your analyzing and application is high order, not at all. All of us are living in that thought that analyzing and application is high order. It is not. That means if we as teachers are thinking it is high order, we have not gone into the high order to teach the children at all. Isn't it? We are only going on to application and analyzing. So, no one thinks perfectly or poorly all the time. Isn't it? God has given all of us the same brain. Sometimes we think like genius, sometimes we think like, I won't name. Memorizing something is not the same as thinking about it. You can memorize something without understanding it. All of us know. If you have seen that movie, we know the child's name is. He whole night is memorizing. Hibiscus is red. Exam question comes. What is the color of hibiscus? Color the hibiscus. He colored it yellow. Okay? So he's learnt that. Knowledge is there. But did he apply it? No. Okay, so though we memorize it, we don't understand. Thinking is done in both words and pictures. Graphical thinking, do you do? Isn't it? There are 3 main types of intelligence and thinking: analytical, creative and practical. All 3 intelligences and ways of thinking are useful in our everyday lives. Yes or no? Or do you only use one way of thinking? You can improve your thinking skills by understanding the processes involved. So don't think intelligence is inherited. Intelligence is also created. It is mastered over time. Okay, metacognition thinking about thinking is part of high order thinking skills. See, HOTS does not include memorization. All of us know this. It requires something to do with the facts. You have to use the facts. Isn't it? What are the last 2 things we said? HOTS? Evaluation and creation. So whatever you have memorized, whatever you have done, you need to do something with it. We must understand them, hand, head and heart, isn't it? Connect them to each other, categorize them, manipulate them. How will you use it? The internet is a very good example. Who thought ether would carry waves? Isn't it? Phone, telephone. Who would even think of manipulating all these? Put them together in new or novel ways and apply them as we seek new solutions to new problems. So high order thinking skills involve metacognition. Metacognition is thinking about your thinking. Okay? When a learner uses metacognition, they are contemplating and revising their thoughts continuously to make sure they truly understand the information. Okay? You have to keep thinking, is this the right way to do this? Can I change it some other way? If I change it, what can happen? Or what will happen? Isn't it? If not, we still would have been like early men. Isn't it? See, he thought, if I rub these two stones, some fire is coming. If I put this near dry twigs, or without realizing he put it near dry twigs, he realized fire, it is fire. If he did not think about it, he would not have invented fire. If he did not think about the log falling down the hill, he would not have invented the wheel. Isn't it? So you have to think. I told you about the old versus the new. I don't have to talk about this at all because I've already told you. We said old version was nouns. New version is verbs. A verb is a word which shows the action to do. Isn't it? Here, now you look at the new version. Learning, retention rate. When you learn, when you teach someone, how much is the retention rate? 5%. Okay, if you are reading, how much is the retention rate? 10%. If you show, 20. Demonstration, discussion, practice by doing, teach others, 90. Many things. As a child, Julius Caesar, I hated it. Class 9 we had to do, didn't understand head or tail of Julius Caesar. But again in BA when I did, I enjoyed it. Now when I teach in class 9, at class 10, my God, I just become so animated with it. That's the beauty. When you teach, you remember, you learn more, isn't it? Okay, similar with, see, remembering is the bottommost one, very less. And then it keeps increasing. Understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So these are the factual knowledge, the knowledge dimension. For example, then if under remember, you have all these. We have given you this handout last year. New teachers, please take. We'll have to print again. Okay? List, remember means your questions can be, list the people seated in the auditorium. So what will you do? You'll look at everyone and start writing. What have you used? You have not used any thinking, you're blindly doing. Isn't it? List, describe, tabulate, appropriate use and all. Understand. Now after seeing this, I tell you, now tell me what was each person doing. So you're trying to understand what was he doing, what was she doing, isn't it? Interpret, predict, execute. Then the cognitive starts, the application. Classify, experiment, calculate and construct, evaluate, rank, assess, conclude, action. Then the creation comes. Combine, plan, compose and actualize. Okay? So these are the dimensions. Who uses blooms? Isn't it? Those who know how to think need no teachers, right or wrong? Again, go back to the early men. Did they have a teacher who taught them how to make fire? Today, our children, we have to teach them how to light the gas. Hold the knob, push it, turn it, then put that simultaneously. Two things. Can they do? No. Either this or that, something is not together. Isn't it? But those who can think, they do not need teachers. They will be the creators. For example, Einstein or Newton. Did the teacher tell Newton, your apple has to fall? He sat there, it fell on his head, and then he started thinking. it would have fallen on so many people's head before him. Yes or no? But no one thought. Today, again, scientists are proving that Newton was wrong. Isn't it? Today, again, research is going on. They started thinking, is he right? Can this be taken as the gospel truth? Isn't it? Again, the research is starting. Or, for example, quantum physics. How many of you are interested in quantum physics? Quantum physics is about the universe itself, isn't it? What quantum physics is saying today is that there is no past, present, and future. All coexist. And depending on the thrust that we get, you might either go into the past or go into the future and come back to the present. So the past is not gone, it is still there. Future will not come, it is there coexisting. Quantum physics is proving that. Did we ever believe that? If this was Copernicus' time and quantum physics was saying this, what would have happened to these people? They would have been slayed, hanged, killed, isn't it? Okay, but today, because our thinking has improved, we all are waiting to see what the thing would be. And this again you can go back where? To our mythology, isn't it? Yes or no? Our mythology says that only. You're born and reborn and reborn. Isn't it? From some place you're born. That's why we had, how many devatas did you have in your mythology? 3 crores, isn't it? Now, how much is the strength of India? What is the population of India? 1.2 billion. But again, we have to go back to 3 crores. Isn't it? That is the full cycle again. From gods and goddesses, because of our karmas, we have fallen. All of us were gods and goddesses. According to the mythology, I am not propagating or going against. But all of us were gods and goddesses. We were reborn. One person was reborn as 5, 6 also maybe. Isn't it? We kept being reborn, and karma, every time you sin, so you become bad, bad to worse, worse to worst. Slowly Kali Yuga will come. Again everything will go back to the thing. Again 3 crores gods. Isn't it? That is the whole cycle they are saying. And quantum physics is that only. Everything is coexisting. Okay, but thinking. If you think, you don't need people to teach you, because your subconscious itself is the greatest teacher. See, blooming at different levels. See, everyone is thinking, but are we using metacognition? Are we using hot skills? I think this word hot is very nice. I'm hot. I'm a hot teacher, no? I use hots all the time. Okay, using blooms in the classroom. Using questions from all levels of blooms will help you scaffold learning and differentiate instructions. Differentiated instruction. Do we need that in the classroom? Or do you teach all children like you teach only? No. But if you have blooms, you understand where to scaffold. You know what is scaffolding? Who will tell me what is scaffolding? Asmita ma'am, scaffolding. No, you don't tell me teaching to scaffolding. No, you tell me the English word scaffolding. What does it mean? I mean, even laborers use scaffolding. They use the word scaffolding. Who? Shanta, scaffolding. New teachers will run away if I question them too much. Scaffolding, English word. Seshu. Seshu, if you don't know, I'm going to make you write the meaning 100 times. He'll write, no? Imposition. Yes, tell me. Sonia ma'am, yes. Deep. Building one by one. Sonia ma'am.
Basic framework.
When you're building a building, when you're constructing a building, you give that framework, isn't it? To make the building stand. Isn't it? That is called the scaffolding. Okay, to support it. So in your class, You will have to scaffold which child needs what kind of support. In your class, you might have a child who is in the lowest order, who must just know or doesn't even know also. Isn't it? Or you also have a child who is in the highest order, who wants to create with the knowledge you've given. So, you need to differentiate your teaching to reach these children. Isn't it? We are talking about kinesthetic learner, we are talking about visual learner, but we also need to talk about the level of the learner. Okay, very, very important. See, so remembering, who was the main character? Most of your children will answer this. Now what I would like us to remember is, you know your low order children in the class. Give them confidence by asking the low order questions so that they answer on par with the high order. That is the support they will need. What happens with us? I want to test my knowledge of asking questions. Isn't it? So I ask a question which I make sure that no one will answer, and I am the hero in the class. See, idiots, you don't know anything, I'm the only one who knows everything. Isn't it? But what we should be doing is, we should be supporting the child. The low order child asks a low order question. High order child, if you ask a high order question, both are on par, both have answered. Both are feeling confident, both are feeling that they have contributed to the class. Okay? Understanding. What is the main idea of the story? This can be the next level child which we could ask. Then applying, analyzing. How is this story related to your life? We're analyzing. Evaluating. What choice would you have made if you were in the story? Would you have chosen that? Or would you have come out of that? How could you have changed the ending, isn't it? Or how would you adapt the plot to create a different story? Yes or no? Many, even the lowest order thinking people go to that level. You watch a movie and come out, ending was not good. They're all telling on mics. Hero should not have died, or hero should have died. Isn't it? See, they want to change that ending. That means they have reached the highest. But are we utilizing that to make them do that in the class? We are not doing it, isn't it? Because we ourselves have not come to that level. Teachers, no need to note anything. This will be on students' presentation. Anytime you want, you can watch. Anytime you want, you can read and do. Now, review. Why ask questions? How many of us ask questions to make the child think? And how many of our children think before they answer? Even before your question is complete, hands are up. Are they thinking? No, they want to be the first one to answer. Right or wrong is a different thing, isn't it? But are they thinking? So why ask questions? Number one, to extend pupils' thinking from the concrete to the more abstract. How many of us teach abstractions? How many of you teach abstractions in the class? I don't have maths and science teachers here. You don't teach abstractions? Yes or no? Maths is abstraction. And then where is your hand? Abstractions, isn't it? Unless you can take the child to abstraction, they cannot learn. To check prior knowledge and understanding of key ideas, to clarify misconceptions. Isn't it? We ask questions so that the child, we understand what the child is thinking about that. Either he's right or wrong. If he's wrong, we clarify that. We say, no, this is not what you have to do, this is the right thing. Isn't it? Then, to challenge pupils to apply the key ideas to a range of observations and findings. After that starts the next order, isn't it? To lead pupils through a sequence which establishes their understanding of certain inquiries. Now, they start thinking, okay, teacher has said this, but is this right or wrong? Can this be something else, isn't it? To promote the use of thinking skills, for example, reasoning and evaluation. Just because you have used a word called analyze, apply, or evaluate does not mean your question was a high order. Okay? Evaluation is all about the child evaluating his own thinking and putting it in paper, on paper. To develop a systematic approach to scientific inquiry and problem solving. Now with CBSE, it is an innovative curriculum. We have problem solving assessment, which our children are not doing that well. Compared to others, maybe our children have done well, but 7 was the average grade that we got. Some were in 9, some were in 4 also. But 7 was the average. Are they in the high order or the low order? They are in the middle order. Okay. To promote pupils thinking about what they have learned and how they have learned. So, low order thinking skills, remembering. Here, these are the things that they can do. They can choose, they can tell, they can omit, they can relate, they can name, they can spell. All these things are done only in the lowest of the low orders. If you have put this question, that means we are looking only at the low order child. Okay? Remembering questions are, I am giving you a handout on this. Okay? No need to write. I am giving you lots of handouts today. What is, where is, our reading comprehensions always are like this. Okay, Snoopy was a beautiful dog. What is the name of the dog? Isn't it? Snoopy was sleeping under the bed. Where was Snoopy sleeping? Do you ask, how did Snoopy go under the bed? No. Why did, when did, all your WH questions and 8 how. I feel, how would you explain, how would you describe? We would think as being on the highest order. No? I as a teacher would think very good question paper. Isn't it? Explain I have used, describe I have used. All of us know list is the lowest order, but so many misconceptions amongst ourselves, isn't it, of what is the high order type of question. How we use, please introspect. Are we using these? Do we use this? Make a timeline of events. You give a project, make a timeline of the events. Parent is so happy. Teacher is giving such a nice question as homework. Little does the parent know that this is the lowest order, and little do we also know. Isn't it? Make a timeline, I think, is creation. Make. Isn't it? Make a facts chart. Aren't our projects all about this? Make a fact chart. Okay, these are the websites you can use to scaffold your children if you are using remembering in a lesson. Okay? Again, low order thinking skills. These are the verbs we will use. Relate, show, illustrate. विनोद मैम एक बार पढ़ देंगी ये पूरा? हाँ, इसीलिए तो आपको दिया. इंग्लिश टीचर इंग्लिश पढ़ने से मज़ा नहीं आएगा मैम.
Show, relate, interpret, compare, classify, outline, summarize, contrast, infer, extend, translate, demonstrate, rephrase, explain, illustrate.
Very good. See, we are amongst family. Only when we do it here, even if you are right or wrong, doesn't matter. It's not that I know everything. I make so many mistakes, but then I learn in the process. We said, no, teaching is the highest. See, understanding. This is also low order. Now, till I made this, I thought compare and contrast was of a higher order. How we use it in a lesson, okay? Please introspect. Are we using all these? Cut out or draw pictures to show a particular event. Our teaching aids. Now we are doing mind mapping. Isn't this skill? See, mind map again, flow chart. These are the resources again, these are the websites. Applying, this is the middle order we said, remember? This is the middle order skills. Who will read this out for me? Very good.
Moving up to applying. Make, model, identify, utilize, organize, build, apply, experiment, solve of construct, solve of plan, construct, interview, with, develop, solve of select, plan, interview, with, develop, use, choose.
Use this to write the summary or use this to do something else, isn't it? See, moving up to applying. From the low order, we are moving the child up, we are moving ourselves up to the next order, okay? Applying questions. See, how would you use? Isn't it? What examples can you find? Now, in the chapter there is something. Give me something else. Apply your thing and give me something else from outside. Give some more examples. Usually we are stuck to the textbook, isn't it? Use more examples from outside. This is what you have to ask the children. Or we give the examples ourselves, not allowing the child to think and apply. Okay? How would you solve using what you have learned? Maths especially would use this, isn't it? You give one theorem or whatever, then they have to do applying all these in the other exercises. See, what would result if you change some concept there, you change some product there. Especially here, don't we do this? You, as a parent, the child has been hit, isn't it? The parent chooses only where the child was the victim. She chooses to depict that. We choose to depict only where the child was so bad that we had to hit, isn't it? So we are using and applying. How to apply this to save me? See, construct a model to demonstrate how it will work. We are looking at the science fair now, isn't it? Science exhibition. So models. What would we think? When you make a model, you would be creating. See, this is not even in the high order. This is the middle order. Why would making a model be in the middle order? Can anyone tell me? Yes, Eshu? A replica. Someone has already created. Isn't it? You are just copying that. You are applying what the person has done to make something else in a similar model, isn't it? Okay, make a diorama to illustrate an important event. Make a scrapbook. We have given scrapbook to every child this year. Teachers, please utilize. Okay. See, next we have come to the higher order. Who will read these? Which teacher is going to read this now? Yes, ma'am.
Motive, analyze, assume, examine, contrast, distinguish, discover, categorize, relationships, inspect, survey, function, compare, list, classify, conclusion, simplify, interference, dissect, divide. Inference.
Yes, infer. Now, as human beings, many of us use these. If someone has given us something, immediately we look for the motive, no? Isn't it? A person has not called us for a long time and suddenly you see the phone, the name. Why is she calling? What does she want? Could be she's trying to help us also, but we want to know the motive. We infer. Don't we infer many times? Isn't it? If she didn't smile at me this morning, I must have done. Sree Devi ma'am called. My God. Isn't it what all go through your mind, the inferences that you draw? We all are very good at this in our personal life, but do we use it in where it is needed? See, what ideas justify? Especially in history and English, we have lots of this. Isn't it? The child comes out with, say, ma'am, this is it. And we say, justify. Tell me why you think that is right or wrong. Isn't it? In fact, when I was doing MA, this is what we were told. A question can be, is there a God? Tell me, is there a God? Yes? How many of you say yes? Raise your hands. How many say no? So who's right now? Isn't it? It is how you justify your point. My professor told me that the first day I went for my English MA, he said, you can say yes, you can say no, but you have to prove it. You have to justify your statement. Don't say, children many times come in the class, no? Ma'am, same answer, but he got and I didn't get. Or, ma'am, different answers. Okay, this is yes, but both of us wrote yes, but our answers were different. He got, I didn't get. So, justification. You need to justify your point of view. Perceptions differ. You can be right, I am also right. Remember that? You are okay, I am okay. If you are okay, I am also okay. If you are bad, I am worse. Isn't it? But we need to justify. You need to give evidence of what you are saying. In America, they say they use one slang, put your money where your mouth is. That means bet. With mouth you can say anything, you are wrong, you don't know this is right. But when you put money, we make sure of our facts. Isn't it? So they use this slang, put your money where your mouth is. So don't open your mouth unnecessarily. So these are the questions. How do we use it in the lesson? Design a questionnaire. Who will design this questionnaire? Students. You all thought we'll design, no? Students have to design the questionnaire. Write a commercial to sell a new product. Social did this, isn't it? Conduct an investigation to produce information to support a point of view. Survey, isn't it? Construct a graph to illustrate selected information. Jigsaw puzzle. Family tree showing relationships. How would a family tree be analyzing? How would a family tree be analyzing? Generation, relationships, isn't it? Who is that person to me? So I'm analyzing my mother's, father's, uncle's, wife's brother. I've analyzed the relationship, isn't it? Okay. Put on a play about the study area. For example, Julius Caesar, if we do, now your audio lessons are coming. Many of you have been asked to record audio lessons. So you need to put on, enact a play or take video movies or any pictures and put it in. Write a biography of the study person. Prepare a report. Arrange a party and record as a procedure. Now Sonia ma'am is saying, we'll give some small camera to the kids. They'll go and take pictures and make a documentary kind, a short film, isn't it? Review a piece of art including form, color and texture. These are the websites. See, we are going to the higher order still. Who will read this?
Assess, deduct, mark, agree, explain, opinion, determine, interpret, prioritize, conclude, justify, prove, judge, measure, support, criteria, evaluate, appraise, importance, criticize, choose, rate, influence, estimate, award, select, rule, value, dispute, disprove, decide, then perceive and compare.
Sonia ma'am has raised a very valid point. She says some of these words are repeating in different skills, in different order, isn't it? For example, infer has come in two places. Compare and contrast, yes. Distinguish. Tell me why. Infer, one inference can be from there you pick and put here. Isn't it? You're inferring that this is here and you're putting it. Another inference, you draw, you apply it in real life situation and you draw conclusions out of that. Okay, so some skills will be in 2-3 places also. In the low order, you will be only looking at the bare fact and doing it. In the higher order, you will look at the underlying idea. Okay? Evaluating questions. See, these are the questions which come in evaluation. Do you agree with the actions? For example, if this has to be done in social, Prasanna ma'am, tell me how you can do it. If this has to be done in social, do you agree with the actions? For example, Hitler or Napoleon Bonaparte. You will talk about Napoleon Bonaparte.
Hitler's external policy, ma'am, conquering the world, because he believed survival of the fittest. So, do you agree with the statement? Was he correct?
Was he correct in his way of doing it, or was he correct in his thinking?
Yes.
Both can be asked here, isn't it? In the sense, if he had done something differently, could he have conquered the world? Tell me people who have conquered the world. Names. Alexander, Hitler. Hitler only we are talking about, no? Yes, Napoleon. In fact, the book I'm reading now is talking about how Britain was trying to rescue Napoleon and bring him, America was trying to save Napoleon and bring him in. Okay, but before that could happen itself, he died. So, do you agree with the actions? Do you agree with the British policy of spreading English language? Seshu, why? Give reasons.
Because they need some clerical staff. They were the people who saw the seeds of English at various corners of the world. That's why we have this variation of British accent and...
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
My question was, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Why?
Because they rule nearly 54 countries.
Again, my question is, do you agree?
Achha.
Yes, Lalita ma'am, yeah.
It has brought the world closer with the help of language.
It has brought the world closer. Was that the objective?
No, it was not the objective, but in a way the language helped people to come closer.
Okay, the language helped people to come closer. So you agree that it was good?
Yes.
Anyone who says that it was not good? Vernacular languages? Yes, please give to her, ma'am.
Vernacular languages were suppressed.
Yes, they took a back seat.
Yes. And they just wanted the people to listen to them. They wanted their orders to be communicated well to the countries that they ruled. So they wanted their end to be heard rather than they never preferred the local people being heard.
Independent.
Yeah, they never wanted the countries to be independent.
Fine. Now, do you agree that without thinking they had done a good turn to India? Or they had not done? Had they done a good turn to India? They had? What has happened with that?
We are able to compete with the world now.
Before that also? They didn't want us to compete with the world. They wanted us to be a land of snake charmers, remember?
Yes, I know, but in a way it did help us.
How?
Actually, Indians came to know about what was happening around the world, with which the people who were different earlier came much closer. They were more united, and we were able to lead a struggle for our independence.
Or India came into existence. Isn't it? Before that, we did not have India. You had kingdoms where Telugu people did not want to unite with someone else, where someone else did not want to unite with someone else. But because English was brought in, all of us could communicate with each other. A common platform of being understood was there, and the country India could come in. It was possible only because English language was brought in, isn't it? So inadvertently, though they didn't want to, they brought about that. If they had not brought in English, they would still have been ruling today. Isn't it? The ideas of French Revolution would not have spread to India. Isn't it? What was happening all around the world would not have come to India. Indians as it is would not have known what was happening where. Isn't it? So for British it would be the misfiring of the language. Now it is exactly. Okay, so here, do you agree with the actions? You can agree or you cannot agree. It's your choice. But children have to be able to justify. What is your opinion? Okay? How would you prove or disprove? As I said, Newton's law is being disproved now. Can you assess the value or importance of English education if you again look at it? It is indispensable to India today. Isn't it? If all states decide that we will not have English, again we become states. Federalism is not there anymore, isn't it? Okay? Would it be better if? Why did they choose? Or why did they choose? That day, who was doing that story? Nancy and? Yes. When I was in class 10, we had sexual education class, okay? And there also a similar story was there where this lady has to cross the boat because her husband is on the other side. And this man says, only if you sleep with me, I shall take you. What should she do? She wants to go to her husband desperately. Which is the right thing for her to do? Husband cannot come. Boat is this side. Boat is this side. Class 10, we had to talk about this. Imagine. What do you think I said? End justifies the means for me. Isn't it? Yes or no? Okay. So she reached her husband. What is husband's reaction? Sunil sir?
No, as a husband, we should be more happy.
Happy that the wife has come?
Reaching, but not knowing the fact.
Happy that the wife has come?
Yeah, that's it.
Or like Lord Ram, send her away. Sunita ma'am is saying, Lord Ram, Lord Ram.
No.
I wouldn't call Lord then.
No, we are not Ram, madam.
Very good.
We are not
Good
Ram.
that we are not Ram.
Yes, ma'am.
Good that we are able to understand why things have happened. Isn't it? Very good that we have come to this stage where we analyze the situation. Some dhobi comes and speaks nonsense, isn't it? Just to prove to him. Charity begins at home, isn't it? But he went the other way round. Of course, again, this was all destiny. That is, we don't want to look at it. But what were his choices at that point of time? He could have chosen to have his wife. And see how she punished him? She never allowed him to come to her after that. When he reached her also, she went into the earth, isn't it? Okay, so here these are the things that children will need to think and discuss. What would you recommend? How would you rate or how would you cite to defend the action? Exactly what we are saying, isn't it? Or how could you determine what choice would you have made? How would you prioritize? Why do you think this is your most important priority and not that? No, for you, your priority would be different, mine would be different. So how would I prioritize what I think? What judgment would you make about that? Okay, or based on what you know, how would you explain? What information would you use to support the view? How would you justify? What data was used to make the conclusion? This, especially in today's teaching, is very, very important. Children are exposed to the net. They know more than any of us, isn't it? But what we have to teach them is analyze the source. is the source correct? Many times when we take content from the internet, it would be a person's biased perception, thought, anything. You cannot take that and justify it. Look at the source. Where did that person get it from? Was that endorsed by someone else? How many people think that what he says is right? Internet does not give us that. We have to teach children to analyze the source. Isn't it? For example, you look at TV, you watch TV9 or you watch Times Now. Isn't it? You watch NDTV. Each has a different perception. Yes or no? So we have to teach our children to dig away, to remove all the embellishments and go to the core. What is the source? Is it authentic? Very, very important today in this internet generation. Okay, what was it better that? What could have been better, this or that? How would you compare the ideas or the people? I know my voice is very sweet, but I didn't know that it puts people to sleep. Now if I start singing, isn't it, people will wake up and sit. You want me to sing? No? It'll start raining. Okay, so these are the evaluation questions. So using evaluating in a lesson. Prepare a list of criteria to judge a dash show. See, here also list, but not listing it out from the existing content, but what would you like to make your list with? What are the parameters you would like to list out? Conduct a debate about a special issue. Make a booklet about 5 rules you see as important to convince others. For example, so you have to make your class charts. Isn't it? Ask the children to put down the rules. Tell them, what do you think will make your class the best class? Put those down. Let everyone contribute. Finally, they'll come down to 5 or 10, which they all, because they have said so, and they understand that that is right, they will follow. Okay? Or form a panel to discuss views. Write a letter to Dash advising on changes needed at. The other day I was talking to my niece. She's studying in IIFT Calcutta, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. And she was telling me that only. She worked in SBI for 1 year and went. Parents are working in banks. So she says, you have cells where you need to put your responses. Why is it that you don't do? Then we all said, who will even look into that and all. She said, when I was working in SBI for 6 months, I put in so many. And so many responses had come to me. Isn't it? But do we do that? Do we like to give feedback on what is right and wrong? At that point of time when we are very angry, yes, isn't it? Whoever gets, we bring out our ire on them. But afterwards, finished. We are like this only. India is like this only. But have we brought it to the notice of the people? See, so we have to write about it, talk about the changes that are necessary. Or write a half-yearly report. Present your point of view. Okay? The highest order. Creating. Who will read this? Nandana was going to read.
Estimate, propose, imagine, change, compile, minimize, maximize, theory, combine, discuss, delete, suppose, compose, predict, improve, original, adapt, originate, modify, happen, solution, create, plan, make, build, choose, develop, formulate, construct, test, design, elaborate, solve, and invent.
Humanities people, we always read left to right. Math people go column wise. I copied this. I didn't make this to torture you. In fact, I thought I'll ask Seshu to help me or Shilpi to help me, but I didn't have time. What changes would you make to solve, or how would you improve? Isn't it? Today, everyone talks about how bad India is. But you ask them, how would you improve? They just shut them out and sit down. Isn't it? What would happen if? Can you elaborate on the reason Isn't it? You just, children many times, ma'am, I don't like this. Can you tell me why you don't like? Some food, a new food you've introduced. Isn't it? And your child refuses to eat, even if it's a toddler. But do they analyze the reason why they don't like it? They analyze. What do they say? The color, texture, isn't it? So, they have to analyze. But many times, blindly, we don't like someone on sight. Isn't it? Or we fall in love with someone at first sight. How blind that is again, isn't it? Of course, love is blind. But we need to look at the reasons. Can you propose an alternative to that? Okay, this is what we need to cultivate in the children. How would you adapt to create a different something? How could you change, modify the plot? Again, in English, we do this a lot. What could be done to minimize effects of pollution? Isn't it? What way would you design a poster or whatever you want? What could be combined to improve? Suppose you could, what would you do? Many times as a child, we always, a substitution teacher comes. If you were the Prime Minister of India, write an essay, class 2, class 3. And we would write, what nonsense God knows today. I want to see those papers. Every substitution teacher aram se would sit on the chair. I wish, isn't it? And say, if I were the Prime Minister of India. My God, imagine class 2 child. Did she know the name of the Prime Minister? God knows. Who was the Prime Minister? Morarji Desai had just come out and Indira Gandhi had taken over. Okay? How would you test? See, you are saying you are proposing some theory. How would you test that against society, against acceptance? See, again, construct a model. But here, construct a model to change. Something else should be the end result. Isn't it? Design a building to house your study. You have to tell the children, you want a study like this. Now design. How would you design that? Isn't it? See, create a new product, give it a name and then devise a marketing strategy. See, thought is the blossom. Isn't it? Language the bud and action the fruit behind it. Ralph Waldo Emerson, how many of you have read his essays or poems? Emerson, Thoreau, all these are propagators of the positive thinking. Okay, even Einstein for that matter, what you think, you produce. That is what they all believe in. If you have read the book Secret, you will again learn about all these. These are Americans. And today America is one of the biggest countries because they were the first people to realize that what they think you can do. Of course, India was thousands of years ago we did, but we stopped practicing it, which they have taken up now. Okay? Emerson's essays are so true even today. Please read. He's very, very good. Even Thoreau, for that matter, is very good, but Emerson is superb. His poems, they're very good. So he says, thought is the blossom, language, and that thought, when you put it into words, it is budding. Then the action, isn't it? The action is the fruit. All of you would have seen this. What I have taught till now only has come in here. See, this is very nice. The egg is there. Knowledge. What does the fish know? I am the fish, you are the egg. That is knowledge. It knows that. Then the comprehension comes. Fish are different from eggs because they swim. Eggs swim. So you and I are different. I've understood that. Okay? Then the application. But because I can swim, I can come to you. I will apply my swimming. Isn't it? Then the analysis. If I swim into the egg, I will change. The egg will again become a small fish. Isn't it? When I swim to the egg, we will become one. Then, I think it is good to swim to the egg, change and become one because it is a change to evolve. Different aspects, isn't it? See, from the lowest to the highest. You can have
ท่องให้ได้ท่องให้ดี หลังจากจบคาบนี้แล้วไปสอบกับครูคนละ10 คำนะคะ เอาล่ะอ่านตามแล้วก็ดูกันตามนะคะคำแรกของเรานะคะ
ครับ
คำแรกจดเลยค่ะจดเลย
ครับผม
เจลเล่เจลเล่พร้อมกันค่ะเจลเล่
เจลเล่
เจลเล่
ครูครับ
อะ
ผมว่ามันอ่านว่าชองนะครับ
G E N เจน R E เล่เจลเล่
อู้ตรงตัวด้วย
you know เจลเล่
เจลเล่
พร้อมกันเจลเล่
เจลเล่
คำต่อไปค่ะแกนดิพริกแกนดิพริก
ครูครับ กลางปีหรือเปล่าครับ
ครูเป็นใครคะคุณครูปะ
ใช่ครับ
ครูเป็นครูปะ
ครูเป็นครูครับ
ครูเป็นครูต้องฟัง
ครู
ครูเป็นครูต้องฟัง
ครู
เจนดิพริก
เจน
เจนดิพริก
เจนดิเพก
คำต่อไปค่ะ High story High story
ไฮสตอรี่
High
ไฮ
High
ไฮ
story
สตอรี่
จดด้วยค่ะท่องแล้วก็จด
เฮ้ยมึงว่ากูจบที่นี่กูจะมีคุณภาพป่ะวะเนี่ย
เอานะคำศัพท์มันเยอะครูก็อาจจะพลาดบ้างนิดหน่อยนะ
คำต่อไปค่ะ อีสแลนด์ อีสแลนด์ I
ไอ
I S
ไอเอฟ
ก็คือ East
อีส
ขึ้นมาเป็นสระ อีสแลนด์
อีสแลนด์
again อีสแลนด์
อีสแลนด์
ต่อไปค่ะ ต่อไปนะ
โอ้อันนี้น่าง่ายง่าย
ฟูตุลิ ฟูตุลิ F U ฟู
ฟู
T U ตู R E ลีฟูตุลิ
ฟู
จดด้วยค่ะจดด้วยค่ะ ฟูตุลิ
แม่ครูว่าพาไปห้างนี้บ่อยนะเขาก็ไม่ได้อ่านอย่างนี้
คำสุดท้ายนะคะ เสร็จสิ้นจาก 6 คำนี้แล้ว หลังคาบนี้ไปสอบกับครูนะคะคำสุดท้ายซีตับ ซีตับ
สีตับ
you know ซี
สี
ซี
สี
ตับ ตับจดเลยค่ะ
ภาพเป็นสีตับ
เอาล่ะ วิชานี้หมดแค่นี้นะคะ หลังจากเสร็จสิ้นแล้วไปสอบท่องกับครูสแตนด์อัพพีท thank you ค่ะ
แต่บายบายทีเชอร์
บายบายพี่เจอ thank you
Thank you teacher
Spare the rod and spoil the child is what they believe in. And we have been hit often. But corrections, isn't it? We learn so much. Yes, when I was teaching, I taught English for the first time. That Rabindranath Tagore's poem, what was it? Gitanjali, no. This poem is from Gitanjali, of course. But he says, when I smell the flowers, I remember my mother. The thoughts are Hovering. Yes, what is the pronunciation?
Hovering.
I also said hovering, and children laughed. And they said, ma'am, it is not hovering, it is hovering. Okay, then I said, fine, I'm not very sure, let me go and check. I went and checked, and it was hovering. Okay, content. I didn't know for a long time. Isn't it? Conduct. What is conduct, what is conduct? Both are there. Conduct is a verb. Conduct the assembly, isn't it? Conduct certificate. Understand? All these we learn, but you should have the willingness to learn. Isn't it? The other day a teacher had come for an interview, and the reason we selected her is, I asked her some pronunciation. She said, ma'am, let me check. She checked and she got back to me and said, yes, that is the pronunciation. Okay? So, learning. There, you can, as a teacher, what she's doing is, she's not even listening. Children are shocked. Do we look at the expression of children in the class? Of course, your lesson plans are there, everything is there. But some days, it will not go like that. Both your things are here, but I'm not looking at them when I'm saying this. Some days, it will not happen. You know the child today cannot do this. Doesn't matter, deviation we can put in. But see that what they want is also what we realize. Your heart has to be in place. Isn't it? Lesson plan has been done only with this. But put your heart in place. Look at the child. If the child is shocked at something, please ask. Not, hey, what is wrong? Or shut up. Or why are you giggling? Get out of the class. Isn't it? But just stop and ask, did something go wrong? Did I say something wrong? Create that atmosphere where children are able to tell you that this is not it, this is the right thing. Okay? So again, this is a kind of, let me not go back to, this. All the blooms we have done. Can you do away with the low order and go on to the high order? You cannot. Okay? If the low order thing is not in place, your high order will not work. So, we must remember a concept before we understand it. Isn't it? We must understand a concept before we can apply it. Then, we must be able to apply a concept before we analyze it. You have not even applied, but you want to go and analyze. We must have analyzed a concept before we can evaluate it. We must have remembered, understood, applied, analyzed, and evaluated a concept before we can create. Edison's example of, yes, Meenal, what is that? Bulb. How many steps did he say he had taken? 10,000. 9,999 times he was wrong. Isn't it? So, he would have remembered what went wrong last time. Isn't it? He would have understood what went wrong, applied that and something else, then analyzed what went wrong, what can go right now, evaluated, then only he created. Isn't it? So, to become a creator, you will need all the thinking skills. But like ABCD, once you have learned, every class do we start with ABCD to teach English? No, they have already learned. Knowledge is there. So start taking them on to the next level. What did I say? R-U-A-A-E-C. Remembering knowledge is one. Okay? Questions, not answers. Questions. On knowledge, okay? Done? Who will read out? Who will read out? Anyone? Yes, Anita ma'am. Who will read out? Vanita ma'am is reading out. After that,
Where did Goldilocks go out for a walk? What did Mama Bear prepare for the breakfast?
okay, what did Mama Bear prepare for?
The breakfast.
Anyone else? Yes. Who will tell me understanding question? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please tell the story in your own words. Exactly. Understand it. Very good. How did the porridge taste? Understanding is, you will either summarize it, say in your own words, what you have knowledge of, only you will speak again. Not analyze that, not apply that. Isn't it? Yes? After? think a grown-up would write this story?
They wanted to give a message indirectly to the children that they are not supposed to wander around into different places.
To tell children that this can happen to you, like it happened to the girl in the story. So don't wander around the forest, isn't it? Now if you look at the old stories, all were in forest. Why? Forests were there those days, isn't it? Today it will be the concrete jungle that we are talking about, in the lanes and the by lanes, isn't it? Okay? So these are your evaluation questions. Then the synthesis questions will come. Those are the creation. This is the synthesis, the final culmination. Isn't it? The creating. Done? I already showed you this, sorry. Yes. You have a handout, isn't it? Please check that. There's one more handout which I would like to give you. This is also for all the teachers. This is also for all the teachers. Some are subject specific. Math, social, I think. Maths and social also, there are some subject specific. After the workshop I'll give you as you go. Now I would like to look at these handouts, if I may borrow Sonia ma'am's. I told you I'm giving you a handout. Did you see that? Level 1, questions. Okay, remembering questions, understanding questions, applying, isn't it? Analyzing, creating, evaluating. It should be evaluating and creating. Every time, why is it going upside down? I don't know. You have this, right? Please keep this as your Bible. You are making term 2, I believe, isn't it? Yes? Objectives, thinking, making your question papers, question bank. Question bank. Look at this when you make. This is your Bible. Or your Gita or whatever you worship. From easy to hard it's coming. So you go from bottom to top. This sheet, it is called Bloom's Taxonomy and Task Design. It's here, Sunita. Bloom's Taxonomy and Task Design. Okay, how will you design your task? All these we already discussed. Turn the page. Don't turn the page, please. Don't turn the page. This one. Read this slide. Please read this slide. Michael Parkinson is about to interview David Beckham. All of you know of David Beckham? Whose husband? See? How can you not know whose husband is? Now who is Victoria Beckham? Model, singer, Spice Girls, remember? Isn't it? Okay. But David Beckham himself is a great footballer. And why is he in the limelight today? He's in the papers a lot. The past few days he's been in the papers a lot. Who will tell me? Sir says a serial about his adventure in the jungle is coming. Is that why he's in the news? Is that why he's in the news? Pradeep sir. Kiran Tej sir. 5th baby he got. But why is he in the news? He wanted to experience life beyond the limelight. Oh my God. What are you doing without reading papers? Remember the FIFA, the World Cup fixing? He's now got. Tell me now what's the issue. Interrogation is going on. So what is Beckham saying? Who is going to probe? US is going to probe. Okay, and? What happened to the $10 million? Isn't it? The FIFA president has resigned, and while resigning he has given all the juicy details, isn't it? And Beckham is criticizing that. He's saying it should not have happened like that. many were there. Now I think all the big people will come out. Anyway, that is why Beckham was in the news, which is very small, but I just wanted to create sensation. See? That's how we have to see if it is right or wrong. Anyway, so is about to interview David Beckham and has prepared a list of questions, but he needs help. Please place each question on Bloom's taxonomy, that is decide whether it is at the level of knowledge, comprehension, application, etc. by placing a K, C, A, P, P, A, N, etc., etc., etc. Decide on the 5 most interesting questions. What do you notice about the level of the most interesting questions? Turn your page. You have the questions. Now you place them. And don't ask me for answers. I also don't know. Questions are there. You have to place them according to knowledge, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Remembering is the lowest, which will also be there. Look at all the questions and place them accordingly. First, don't tick the most interesting. Don't do that yet. First, you write. Okay? You write as K, C, A, P, P, A, N, E, C. First one? Knowledge, remembering. Super. Okay, I also agree for that. Remembering knowledge questions I also can say. Remembering or knowledge? Knowledge is a noun. So which one do we use? Remembering. We do not use knowledge at all. Okay, even if K is there, it is R. I gave you the acronym. Isn't it? R. Okay, remembering. Who else will tell me how many caps have you got for England? Cup set. Remembering? Very good. What was your wife's last single call? Posh Spice and after that she became what? Victoria. So she was Posh Spice, isn't it? The album. What would that question be? Very good. Where was Brooklyn conceived? Remembering. Could you explain the offside rule? Understanding?
Knowledge.
Application. Yeah. Explain. You are understanding it, but you are also explaining it. Okay, so if you come, but here because we want you to explain, it will go to the next level. Okay. What steps do you go through to take a free kick? What steps do you take? You've already done. Application, isn't it? Do you take? It is already done. How do you go about taking a corner? explain why he is good, why he is not good. What were the main reasons for England's defeat by Brazil? What is your favorite football moment? Understand? Isn't it? Remembering would be the incident, but why? What would you say? Knowledge or understanding of it? Understanding, I would say, because it's remembering with understanding. Chosen. She says he has so many is chosen, and what I feel is that liking, he understood that feeling, he understood that environment. Is what we are thinking. We are not gods. We are mortals. Okay? England's defeat by Brazil. What were the main reasons for England's defeat? Analyzing. Understanding. You will understand the reasons. What is the question? Analyzing and evaluating. Also, isn't he evaluating that? These were the reasons why we failed. After analyzing, is evaluated it. These were the reasons why we failed. George Best is your favorite footballer. What were his strengths and weaknesses as a analyzer? Analyzing. If you were managing United, how would you run the team? What are the characteristics of a good manager? Analyzing, evaluating. Analyzing the manager also, isn't it? Not analyzing and evaluating. What makes a great coach? What makes a great coach? Analyzing, not creating. What makes? Is analyzing the reasons of the causes that how would you improve the quality of England's game? Isn't it? How can Manchester United improve as a team? Here, analyzing also the task. Analyze, evaluate, because all the orders have to come for everything. We will be based on creating. Okay. What star sign were you born under? Remembering. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What do you and Posh argue about? Analyzing would be the last thing. Here he has to remember that. Remembering, isn't it? What do you argue about? Why he didn't ask? What? Why do you argue would be so many things. You posed with that girl or you posed with that man. Okay. Could you explain why you re-signed for Manchester United instead of going to an Italian team? Analysis. Exactly. Did you all get this? Yes. Very good. Turn the page. There's one more task which I shall not do with you now, but which in your faculty meetings as you discuss your lesson plans you will need to do. The first page and the third page together have to come in. Though it is task 2, it is based on the first page, developmental task and all that, where you do your lesson planning now in your faculty meeting, in your departments you have to discuss and do. Is that clear? Clear. Anything like this? Any? So what chapter will it be? History. What am I doing as? English. So my objective is English, but what is the aim of that chapter? To understand about Gandhiji, to understand about the peasants, to understand about untouchability even, and also how Rajendra Prasad came to become the first president of India, isn't it? Okay, because he also came into the scene with this Indigo movement only.
And the policies of the British also.
Policies of the British, Gandhiji's own policies which have affected India for a lifetime today, the way he was negotiating with the British. This is the aim of my chapter, which is pure social. It is not English objective at all. Aim of the chapter is that. Is that clear now? Chapter's aim and objective will not be the same. Now, what is my objective of teaching this chapter? Is speaking, evaluating, creating, analyzing, synthesizing. Isn't it? So in the listening, how are they listening? What are the discussions that are happening? Okay? So again, subtopic will be a chapter subtopic itself. For example, in Indigo, I could have 4 subtopics. In one day I will not finish off the chapter, isn't it? They will have indigestion and have loose motions also. They have to be able to chew and digest. So I shall do subtopics. So first I should look at the subtopic. In Indigo, my first subtopic would be, what was the problem in Champaran district? Okay. In that, what are the LSRW skills? Under that, what are the evaluation skills, analyzing skills that my children will be taught? Isn't it? The reading, listening, speaking, all that will come in. So your subtopic is also based on the chapter only, not on your objective. Understand? You will divide your chapter into chunks, which would be the subtopics. Under that, each subtopic will have your own objectives. All 4, 10, 20 objectives don't come into one day. Is that clear? Only some objective, 2 objectives you might use, 1 you might use, or 3 also you might use. Clear now? Is the confusion clear? Unless your subtopic and your topic and your aims are clear, you will not be able to do your objectives. Are you all agreeing on that? Any doubts? What is your objective of teaching the lesson to the child? What will the child get from the lesson? In America, as soon as she writes the objectives on the board, child is aware of the objective all the time. Am I getting this when the chapter is being done? Should we do that? Isn't it? Then your objective is met. If not, we go blindly into the class, I don't know what I'm going to teach. Child doesn't know what I'm going to teach. Everyone goes off at a tangent. Okay, in America, the teacher does not even speak. Children don't listen to him. Okay, she is there already in the class. Children come and listen to him. So, write the objectives in the board and please. Objectives also. So that we also do not lose focus. Isn't it? Many times people like me to talk too much. Where I reach God knows. Just to remind me to stay on track. Okay? Is that clear for all of us? Now your lesson plan will have all these. Once again, new things being brought in. This was what we did, undid, and we are redoing it. Okay?